Okay, so we are live. Um, this could potentially be watched by other collaborators in the future, so we'll just be mindful of the fact that we're recording as well. The purpose, why we've called everyone together, is to, oh, and we've got Tyler coming in. We'll give him a second. Tyler Wallace.
Hey, Christopher Life, how are you?
So good, brother. Just warms my heart to have you on the call with us.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That's a kind and warm welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
Great. And are you going to be on audio or are you joining us by video?
I am just getting into my house, so I'm going to sit down, get my laptop on, and I'm going to turn my video on, and I'll be available until 4:15, so about 15 minutes.
You'll be available for 15 minutes or in 15 minutes?
For 15 minutes.
Oh, so we just got you for the beginning.
Exactly.
Okay, great. We'll take you. Okay, well, here we are live. Tyler, I mentioned we're recording as well. The purpose in inviting everyone to come together is to, for the first time, just start to create a sense of connection between the various members of OneNation and collaborators who have video capacities and video interests to bring to the table, as well as start to connect to the kind of more of an overarching view of the video needs of the movement itself, of the party, and of the launch campaign. So we're connecting both the people as well as a bigger picture. Joe and I have been working on the video front for OneNation from the beginning. He's been holding it down. He's done pretty much all the production, all the post-production for all the videos to date, which have had a formative impact on getting the party to this stage that it's at. And now is an opportunity for us to continue to work with you, Joe, and then also open the conversation a little bit wider to see who's got insights, who's got perspective, who's got time, who's got resources that we can all blend together to make this, better than any of us could do on our own. I think that what would be a very natural next step is to just have some professionals see and feel each other, and just take like a couple sentences to speak a little bit about your background, your personal background and interest on the video front, so we kind of get a sense for who's in the room. Let's start with you, Joe.
Cool. I've been producing videos, specifically marketing videos, for a lot of the big names in internet marketing, like Evan Pagan and Christian Michelson and Bill Barron. And I've been doing that since 2009. So I've been behind the scenes. Well, at this point, it's got to be 8 figures as far as revenue is the videos that I've produced. Somewhere in the $30 to $50 million range probably at this point. And yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. And I've worked with Evan and others and created all the graphics and done all the production, all the filming, and all the editing for those kinds of videos. So I got a big background in marketing and using video to market.
Thank you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, let's bring you in.
Awesome. My film experience, let's see. Okay, so the essence of my professional film experience started a little over a year ago, probably a year and a half ago, when I had the opportunity to move to Boulder and work with a production company here called Storyworks on a documentary called We Rise Up. I was hired to be an assistant editor, but really what that looked like was it was me and the director, whose name is Michael Sean, who was also serving as the editor, just working in their studio day in and day out to create a film, to create a feature film. So I'd done, short films and little projects here and there and some documentary work, but that was the first time I spent, at least 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, editing and doing production work. And so that film is now finished. And I also do the social media videos for the documentary. So I would say my expertise when it comes to filmmaking is in post-production and editing. And that's something that I definitely want to bring to the table for OneNation.
Awesome. Thank you. So good to hear and feel you. Love you, brother. Ben.
Yeah, so I am a filmmaker focused on making documentary films primarily about climate change. I've been working in virtual reality and 360 video for the last 3 years, but I started out as a documentary photographer, spent a short period of time making traditional films, and then started working in VR. So I have experience editing and directing and producing.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. Good to hear you and feel you. Sparks?
Hey, so I worked with Elevate Films in 2010 after college, learned a lot there. And I've been focusing on all of the stuff around making videos as well as editing and making videos, but all the things included, such as like coming up with the idea beforehand and storyboarding, as well as like delivery stuff, like delivery mechanisms, like what website do you put it on? How does the ClickFunnels work? You know, is there interactivity? So, so I like to like really see the big picture when you're making an experience, a user experience, and then focusing on technical aspects. I haven't done $10 million videos, but I have made 100 websites and seem to know a lot more about tech than I realize I do. So you guys are all freaking awesome, by the way. I'm so excited to work with everyone. And we're such a pro team over here. We're going to get a lot of magic done. Thanks, Chris, for bringing us together.
And you also mentioned one of our last exchanges that you care a lot about motion graphics. You've kind of thinking and working about in that space.
Yeah. I love motion graphics, and I'm excited to really dive in with each of you and figure out where our passions and our skills are and put together something that's really profound and awesome. I've already been dreaming up a few different ideas, creative ideas, interactivity ideas. So yeah, we'll get into it when the time is right.
Awesome. And Brian?
I'm a screenwriter and director. I've worked on a bunch of like big budget films. Been in LA for like 10 years. I also do some economic and political strategy advising with some really interesting groups, and some speech writing and a bunch of other interesting things to talk about.
Great.
Yeah.
Feel that. Yeah, what a solid set of brothers that are holding down some super expert skills. Just solid. I think that the fact, like the closeness in age that we all share, and there's kind of like a shared energetic imprint I won't get too much more into, but like there's something really special here on this call in this moment. Sophia, is there anything that you want to say coming into the call? Obviously you don't have a video background, but you're holding down a lot of pieces for OneNation and an important part of this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I was also going to speak into the specialness of this collective. I feel so grateful to know so many of you. Ben, I feel like we're just getting to know each other, but to know your stories over the years and to just feel like, gosh, we really are all bringing our skills into something that really truly inspires us in whatever capacity and way that is. And it just feels really great to feel that potential here. And just the diversity and the range to which we all cover feels really good. And I guess what I'll share on this front for the sake of this project is that I just created the website for OneNation. So that has not been in my wheelhouse, but I feel like I'm stretching my capacities, and what I find I'm holding is a vision of the aesthetic. So I'm very inspired by the content that we've been creating, even though we don't have a lot on our Instagram channel. I'm the one who's been creating all of the imagery because I just feel the future tech cleanliness. Like I've been referring to the aesthetic as like Tesla meets Apple meets Star Trek. And I just feel really inspired by what I've been creating. And I feel like because I hold that to some degree, I'm wanting to be engaged in all things production, plus the media content itself. I feel like I'm at the sacred heart of all of that. And so wherever we go from here, know that I'm holding this group and I'll be available however I can be used. I tend to fill in the gaps where needed.
Website looks great, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for getting us started.
Yeah.
Joe just gave us that like nudge, towards Wix. It was exactly what we needed, and yeah, it feels good. It's better than what we had for sure.
It's great. Nice work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Tyler, respecting your rollout, I'd like to officially and informally just kind of name the birth of a OneNation Video Guild. I'd like to create a Facebook group that I'll invite you all to be a part of. So the degree to which you want to stay involved, there's a shared space for that. Tyler, I'll post the recording of the rest of this call in that group. So I would love for you to watch that. And then, we'll just kind of keep the conversation going, asynchronistically in that space. And then maybe find the next time that we come together through a group call. So Tyler, thank you for being with us today.
Fantastic. Thank you. It was so great to meet those of you I hadn't met before. I knew I wouldn't be able to stay long, but I wanted to be here for the beginning of this and show my face and see all of your faces. And I'm so glad that I did. I can't wait to see where this goes. Much love to you all.
Blessings. So what I'd like to suggest we do next is I'd like to bring us into our map that's actually holding the totality of the OneNation kind of blueprint, and probably take about 10 minutes or so to start to articulate the key video needs that I'm currently tracking, and then just open up the space to get a sense for maybe a little dialogue at a creative level, or maybe like getting a little tactical and just seeing, what wants to emerge after I do that intro. And I think the other thing that's important for me to communicate on the front end, which I don't know if you're in the know of this, and Sparks, I'm pretty sure we talked about it the other night, but there was a lot going on that night. It's pertinent to what we're about to mention. Tomorrow goes out a formal email announcing that I'm stepping in as a presidential candidate for the United States presidency for 2020 as an integral component of the launch strategy of OneNation itself. So, in a perfect world, maybe that email would have gone out before this call. You would have gotten that full kind of 2-page explanation behind all of it. I don't think that now is the moment to go deeper into that content, but it's just an important announcement on the front end because we're about to look at video that factors that in. Everyone kind of receiving that? Anything that needs to be said, or are we good to move on, or how's that landing?
Amazing. Freaking amazing.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so here we go. I'll try and keep this to about 10 minutes. I'm gonna do a little screen share and let you guys know what thinking's been done thus far. Okay, everyone can see my screen, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the first official live situation in which we're revealing the big picture. This big picture map is going to be used to have a tremendous amount of collaboration, so that the collaboration in any one particular domain, you can actually see how it integrates to the collaboration in all domains. So we're creating basically an infinitely large digital, online, publicly viewable whiteboard that holds the total gestalt of the launch of OneNation. So if you zoom in right here, you see that our core marketing engine based upon video. And let me just delete this for a second. And so video is at the center of our brand, of our marketing, of our strategies. And you can basically see that at a revenue, I won't go into our revenue model right now, but to show it, but our revenue model is based upon membership. So all roads lead to membership. So that myself as a presidential candidate, I'm not asking for donations as my front running call to action. I'm actually asking people to become members of OneNation. That's how that call to action happens. And then as people register for membership, there's a monthly dues. And then those monthly dues then become the finances that we run the whole thing on, the party, the campaign, the whole piece. So we want our video work, ultimately the result, one of the results of that video work is that it results in people becoming members. And so if you drill into this YouTube channel, you can see that these are all different shows that we would like to create on the YouTube channel, different streams of content. I'll get into the details of that in a second. But basically, we become our own advertisers on our own media content. So at the end of every video, there's a commercial that says, hey, if this was meaningful to you, then we want you to join the network and become a member. And the current vision is that we have like a couple different commercials that have maybe different aesthetics or different feels, or we test stuff or whatever. And then we just video edit those right in to the end of all of our different show content. So every show content ends with an invitation. You can't watch 3 or 4 or 5 episodes without having had 3 or 4 or 5 invitations to join the network. The current vision is that if people click the button to learn more about membership, they go to potentially a longer video that kind of unpacks membership, the features, the benefits, member testimonials, and then a really clear, strong call to action to become a member. And then that then takes them over into our kind of online funnels with email opt-ins and membership transaction and all that kind of thing. So you can see that all roads end to membership transaction, which is represented by this, this bubble down here. And you can see that all of our YouTube content goes to membership commercial, which then goes to maybe a longer video about membership, which then goes off of YouTube and now onto our website for the opt-in and the transaction. So again, I'm not saying this is perfect. I'm not saying this is the have-all end-all. This is just our thinking to date. And now you can see the context that basically the core marketing engine is video content. We want to put the best video content out, the highest quantity of video content out, video content that is produced for specific purposes to resolve the concerns and spark the interest of specific demographics, and then promote those video assets very effectively, very strategically, so that it finds the right audience, and then people hit those videos, say, holy smokes, this is profound, this is upgrading and up-leveling me and how I think about myself, how I think about the world, how I think about my participation with government. I want to be a part of it. And then we basically do that for a year. And the conclusion that I've come to is that this is the campaign. That yes, there's going to be live events. Yes, there's going to be demonstrations. Yes, there's going to be, PR, and we're going to be in articles, and we're going to show up on talk shows and radio shows, and we're going to organize member chapters and member demonstrations. And there's going to be all of the things. Like those things are not being accounted for and being developed. But the heart of the whole thing, like where this thing sinks or swims, where we win the day, is by having an amazing outcome with video on YouTube. We had recently in Ukraine a couple months ago, the new president was elected who simultaneously as running for president, launched a new party, ran an entirely YouTube-based campaign, and won as a millennial, okay? So what we're talking about doing here is actually fully precedented. Launch a new party based on video, younger generation, winning. Like this is all doable. So just know that I completely accept any result of this campaign that's in service to launching the party. And I also want to communicate clearly that I do believe that actually winning the 2020 presidential election by just completely rocking video is a viable potential and one that we should take very seriously. So if you kind of come over here, then you can see that there's a whole nother element to our video, which this is all of our show content, video content. And over here, this basically represents our Facebook ad video content. And so this is kind of a whole nother domain to be thinking about, and how to create the most targeted ads so that in addition to all of our YouTube efforts, that we're reaching out to people through Facebook with 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute video ads that are deeply compelling, and then bring them in to the conversation with us. And I've got a little bit of a formula here, not attached to it, but it's just a way of thinking that the different demographics are made up between their political backgrounds, their age, their interest, and their region. And so I was toying around with the idea of like kind of creating this template for an ad where there's something like a, the title that kind of speaks to the region, and there's like this general element, and then there's like a customized attention grabber specific to their political background, and then a customized line specific to their age, and then a customized line specific to their interest, and then this like general content and invitation. And if we were to do something like that, we could record a bunch of stuff, cut it all together, and actually have 100 different ad videos that a person gets a video that speaks to their age, their political background, and their specific interests, and they get this like highly customized invitation ad video that really feels like it was made just for them, and that we can obviously control all of that with targeted ads and things like that. So that's the I'm going to take a couple minutes longer, but that's the conclusion of the two major domains of video. It's all things ad and all things YouTube video content. Now, if you look over at YouTube video content, you can see that I've got it kind of split down between what I'm calling now, and like later. So we don't have to talk about later right now, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different video series that I believe are all in the now category that we're actually ready to run a prototype for each one and develop like the production and post-production patterns around, so that we can start to create multiple episodes. And I'm going to speak into those briefly. The first one is a program we're calling Choice Point. This is designed to be crowdsourced content that is the stories of people as they have had realizations about their empowerment in the world. There's more nuances, more details. Trust me, it's cool. But there's this whole kind of like crowdsourced piece. And I'd love for this to be so easy to produce and replicate that it can be something close to daily content. I've got a prototype of this right now that I will post in the video, in the Facebook group. So you can kind of get a sense for how we can have members that tell short 3-minute stories that we then maybe put a little bit of post-production flair on and then fire out as our inspiring video content that helps people see OneNation from all these different faces. The next is what I'm calling a new way forward. And this is like the talk show. This is like the 30 or 40-minute show where we bring on 1 or 2 very specific guests. We have very specific conversations, and we develop very specific videos that are then designed to be flags for specific groups, right? So there's millions of people that care a lot about aliens. We have a conversation where it's like there's a US presidential candidate talking about aliens. We then blast that out to millions of people and networks and forums and Facebook groups and all the ways that these people are available. And now they get this video that connects their interest with this presidential candidate and this new party. And now they've never heard this happen before. And we can just kind of keep drilling in to all these different groups that are millions of people and create these kind of talk show-esque video pieces that speak directly to what they care about, that electrify them, that help them to know that we're their people, and then bring them, on board with us. The third segment is the segment we're calling Life 2020 Behind the Scenes. And this is like the reality TV show-esque element that's the story of what's happening in real time, maybe semi-dramatized, maybe it's kind of dry, but it's a way that people can actually get the story of what's happening as they're experiencing the content that's coming out as well. And then this fourth section is called the big picture. Every week, I'm going to actually be taking groups through this whole map and initiating them into a shared understanding of the full vision. And I'd like to piece that out so that everybody else that wants to can actually get in and understand the full totality of what we're holding and how they can come and be a part of it. And so this is just something that's basically going to be, you know, recorded Zoom calls that give people access to the big picture of what we're talking about. And this very last piece is around these features. And I believe that these are mostly going to be kind of speeches. Like imagine a political speech, but instead of me being a candidate that says the same stinking thing to different live groups for a year, which is totally not very interesting. We're every week or every couple weeks, we're bringing out this like 8 to 15 minute, you know, mind-blowingly potent speech concept that is very high, that has a very high level of production, that maybe has multiple faces and multiple voices and has graphics and has maybe animation and has multiple shots and is semi-dramatized and has music and has effects, so that you're not just watching Bernie say the same thing over and over and over again in auditoriums. You're getting these like powerful transmissions that are entertaining the heck out of you, that are activating new codes of awareness, that are helping you to initiate new ways of being involved and being able to think about government and thinking about the future and thinking about systemic transformation and thinking about an all-win world. And that we just like, these are the heavy hitters of our program, and we promote them, you know, as heavily as we can, and try and turn those into pieces of viral content. So that's the totality of what I'm holding. You know, in conclusion or in summary, you know, we've got YouTube content and we've got ad content from video standpoint. Here is the example of the video content that I'd like to be moving on sooner than later. And I think I'll leave it at that. I've got some ideas of where I'd like to end this call with, but I'll circle back around those at the end of the call. And I want to open up to get your guys' reaction and any integration from that thus far.
Amazing.
Great, man. Yeah, I love where, so obviously you guys probably know that Christopher and I have had many conversations over the past year or more about this particular topic. And I'm just excited to see where it's ended up. It's looking really great. My first and maybe my main thing, and maybe one of the main things I'm here to offer, is to figure out the best way to format each of these kinds of things, you know, like how do we make them, because I really feel really strongly about professional looking, like extremely well produced stuff that's entertaining and it looks great, so that when people look at it they go, that looks like it costs a lot of money. You know, I think that generally speaking, that's what has things rise to the top. And you know, when YouTube first came out and when it was really starting to get popular, I started to notice that everyone was just like, whatever, I'll just shoot with my phone and it's like bad audio and it's whatever, but people were into it. But now it's so oversaturated with content that it really does make a difference to have something produced really well and looking good. So that's what I would love to come in and just like lead the charge on with these things. That's my main initial thing. I love the ideas. I love how you put them together, and like it's really, really clear. And the only other thing that kind of came up for me is each of those different types of content seem like they'll need to have, maybe not need, but it seems like it would be beneficial for each of them to have maybe like a leader who's leading the production of them, not so that not one person is doing all of them. That seemed like, yeah.
Yeah, hey, Joe, I totally feel what you're saying because I was also thinking about the systems behind everything and like having a leader for each project. And then I was also thinking about like building like data. I was thinking about it from a data perspective too, where if you can look at every week, what are the trends happening on the internet every week, and then you could design like scripted versus non-scripted material. And then I was also thinking about short-term game versus long-term game. Like you could build a really good Netflix movie that takes a year to make, millions of dollars. But you can also build a methodology where all you have to do is like, as long as all the ingredients are in place, you go live immediately. And then, you know, whatever you just did when you went live becomes the actual video with like no production, post-production, I mean. So what do you think about that?
You mean like a YouTube live or Facebook live, that kind of live?
Well, I was thinking more like, have you ever watched, for example, TMZ?
Yeah.
So they're all like sitting in their office and they're gossiping about celebrities, but it seems as though like they didn't prepare anything for the video. You know, they're just sitting in front of the camera, and somehow because of their strategy, the way they're approaching the conversation, you feel like you're there in the room with them, and like they're kind of scrambling for papers. So there's a way to kind of, if you don't have anything prepared, you could still go live and it feels entertaining and cinematic. Kind of like if you're watching The Office, which The Office is like that popular show, but it has very low production value, but high entertainment value.
Totally. Yeah, and that's a great thing to bring up too. Is like so TMZ and The Office, they have, for example, they look low production, but they also look really like there's something really professional about them, you know, because it's entertaining. There's a format. There's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the script is like Rockstar, right?
Yeah.
It's like all the values in the script almost.
Yeah, totally. And the production of the shows in general are meant to look kind of lower budget, and I'm sure they are. They almost certainly are lower budget, and because they've got great people that have a good eye for what's entertaining. It still has that like professional, like engaging quality to it. I think that it's the engaging energy that I feel like we need to, like, it would be really important to bring, whatever that looks like.
Yep.
I was also feeling like it's similar to like when you're listening to the host of a football game, you know, like, so I guess the reason I'm bringing up these different examples is because once we come to a clear understanding amongst each of us as what the model actually is, I think everything that Chris has on that map becomes, you know, accessible, and we could, you know, activate each of those projects. And because I'm feeling like there's a way where it's not just a video project, but it's also a technology project, in the sense of like, what do we need to build underneath all of these videos that can manage the flow of traffic and clicks? And like, what if somebody wants to watch a video and on the left side of their screen they're taking notes, and then there's a little section where they're sending messages to, you know, Instagram. So there's ways that we can maybe ahead of time come up with simple strategies that allow us to streamline everything. Yes, it's really nice to have like well-produced stuff and you write out the script and you plan it all out and you get it all done. But I think maybe there's a way where there could be this real-time interactive space where you're literally like, you're not presenting something that that you've prepared. You're literally stepping into the camera to have a conversation with your audience in a way.
Yep. Yep.
Something to think about.
Totally.
When you
Yeah,
talk-
and sorry, yeah, yeah, thank you for that again. And I think we might be talking about different things because I'm totally with you on that, and I think that regardless of the path that we take to get the content done, like whether it's scripted or not scripted, or takes a long time to produce or doesn't take a long time to produce, I think I'm talking more about the finished product, like what's it look like and how does it feel.
Totally.
So I love all the different ways of getting to that, and yeah, totally. So like a really like big budget movie like Avengers or the television show The Office, very, very different production values and budgets, but both of them are extremely professional looking and engaging. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Totally.
And I think that's where I'm coming from, and I appreciate where you're coming from, because a lot of that stuff is not really it's not really what I'm thinking about when I'm doing production. You know, I'm thinking more about like, how does it look? How does it feel?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so it's great to get different eye on that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The main feedback I like to add, which I think really pulls all of that together, is thinking about the brand narrative that we're building here. Like, especially since video is going to be at the core of how people first engage with OneNation, creating and not only an aesthetic and the thematic consistencies, but like really building a cohesive narrative world that people are stepping inside of, that especially because what OneNation stands for, as far as the way I understand it, is such a paradigm shift. So there's, I think having all of those elements be in alignment with bringing people into that paradigm, which I think for me personally also goes into the production. Like, how do we produce videos collaboratively as an ecosystem within an OmniWin paradigm? Like, how can we model what we're trying to create in the way that we're creating the content? And that's really kind of scary and unknown. I feel like there's kind of like a very traditional linear way of making videos, which works, and sometimes you just need to get shit done and people just need to do what their role is. And there's a reason on a set, like, you have people doing very specific roles, and they're not, it's not about sitting in a circle for 3 hours trying to figure out who's going to DP. But I do think that we have an opportunity to really create a culture. And I also tend to think of myself more as a storyteller than as a videographer. And so, like, what is the brand story that we're telling, and how do we really embed that in all of the content, so that no matter where people touch the brand, they feel that feeling, which is something that they are not familiar with when they engage with a political party. I feel like the first idea that came to my mind as far as the ads goes, like, it's so ripe for parody, the current paradigm. Like, it's so absurd on its face, like what political advertising looks like. And so we have an opportunity to like turn that on its head and like aesthetically and thematically bring people into like a whole nother way of thinking about what politics even is. Yeah, so those are my initial thoughts. And there's one way of, I think there's maybe one other piece of content. Like, I feel like the big picture idea, well, I think a Zoom call is really helpful internally for members of the party. I feel like there's an opportunity to do an episodic series that's more about the big picture of the OmniWin paradigm, like episodic series based on like regenerative farming and collaborative governance models and blockchain and all of these different aspects of the new paradigm that people might not be familiar with, but that are the sort of policy platforms broken down into like narrative blocks that people can engage with at a story level. That's the only piece of content that came to mind that could be added to that list that we looked at.
Thank you for all of your inputs. And that last piece that you're talking about, Ben, I believe that's represented in what I'm currently calling a way forward, which is this, it's supposed to be topical. So it's supposed to like actually go into these different, like regenerative farming as an example, have an expert in this space, you know, outline the core premises of that conversation, do some good solid prep ahead of time, and then just rip out like the most robust, potent 30 minutes on regenerative farming and the political implications of that, and how to start to think about that as a political issue, not just an agricultural issue. And like, so all of that. So I think that what you're holding is well represented in the vision of what's currently being called the way forward. Yeah.
And what I want to add to that is just to highlight the importance of the narratives that we tell, right? Like this is our great opportunity to really showcase the narrative of the new paradigm and what it means to step into politics and what it means to be all of us, right? And how we choose to tell our stories through this platform. Like I feel held that piece was brought into this call because I've been holding the importance of knowing that this piece is so important. So thank you for that. Thank you. And I think that there's a variety of ways that we can slice the narrative as well and tell a narrative for different people that will activate them specifically. And that's also very interesting for me.
So let's see. There's this notion in business that you bring your core competency in-house. So whatever is the thing that you do specifically, you bring it in-house. Classic example of this is Zappos, right? The Zappos, the online shoe company, they kind of decided, all right, our core competency is actually going to be, we're going to have the best customer service. That's going to be what our brand revolves around. And so they built their whole business around customer service and around their customer service agents. And they obviously became a very large, impactful company. So I want to just keep doing that with us with video. I want to just keep making core competence, video, our core competence, you know, our systems, our processes, our culture, our innovation, our technology, our financial resources. Like how can we just keep investing into this domain and let other domains go and say, hey, our hypothesis here is that if we double down, triple down, quadruple down on video, then we will have greater impact than if we spread and hedge our bets and try and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this. So that's where I'm coming from. And I imagine sparks to a lot of your points that like there's some systems that we're going to either use that are already existing or that we're going to innovate. Ben, to some of your points around like collaborative video, post-production, whatever, like I think that we're really going to crack some nuts when we bring like, you know, what we want to do and say, great, how do we do it? You know, how do we pull this off? How do we produce this much video content? Or how do we produce content that's this good? Or how do we produce content with this much budget? And like when we bring our design criteria, I think we're going to invent systems and structures and processes that are going to enable some new video capacities that no one else has on the scene, because we've just got systems and process and capacity that enable us to do things. You know, Paul Sparks, you mentioned the idea of current events and speaking into those current events. That's probably one of the key domains of content that isn't represented on the list so far, which is meeting people where their mind space is at, right? Right when something happens, that we produce content that connects to that happened, whether it was a new episode of Game of Thrones, all the way to a new documentary that came out, or all the way to like current events, or, you know, whatever, the prince peed his pants in England, or like whatever the situation is, that one of the core competencies is the speed and the rate of turnaround, so that 4 minutes after something happened that made the news, we've got our video that's then riding that SEO wave of that thing that's making us relevant relative to the people that see that as relevant, and that our speed of turnaround is one of the core competencies, so that we're constantly like our videos are the edge of reality. They're not like 4 minutes ago or 4 days ago. Like being with OneNation is like being on the pulse of the front edge of the universe.
Yes.
So, all right, I'm going to go back to screen share for a second to share some intents of an outcome. And Joe, a lot of this is directed at you based upon some of our previous exchanges, but it'll be interesting now that we're actually getting into action, you know, where Sparks comes in, where Ben comes in, where Tyler comes in, where other people come in. But I'm also speaking directly to you, Joe, because you're my rock. You're what we've done before, right? Yep. And we talked about the next shoot. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to schedule a shoot and have you come down, Joe. We definitely have the budget to bring you down. If Sparks wants to be a part of that, you know, if he's in the area, that would be epic. Ben, if you want to be a part of that, that would be epic. If we decide what the core needs are, we can look at that. If we need to explore other budget elements or equipment rental. Right now, we're on a pretty shoestrings budget for everything, but I think that's going to change pretty quickly once we actually make the formal announcements and launch the party and get our videos out there. Like, I think that we're, and just with the new website, I think we're right for membership. Right now, we have about 200 members, which aggregates in about $2,000 a month in recurring revenue for the organization. That's all the funds and resources we have. But that's 200 members. So if we can get up to 1,000 members, and now all of a sudden we've got, you know, 10 grand as a budget to work with. So you know, how we develop our video and how some of us or some of you go from members that are volunteering some time to members that are volunteering and getting paid a little bit to maybe us all working as full-time salary on this project for a couple months or whatever. All that's going to be predicated upon our ability to get some initial videos out there that help us to, you know, increase our membership numbers. So with this first shoot, Joe, I would love for us to shoot this announcement video. This is like the feature announcement that's going to go live like probably on January 1st. That's this like badass script, badass production, badass post-production. And it's the biggie that we drop as far as the launch of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to film that. I'd like to film at least our first episode of A Way Forward. I already have the guests and the content for that. Maybe we could film a couple episodes. So now we've got some stuff to develop some official prototypes of as far as how we cut this thing up, you know, in post-production, how we add motion graphics, how we make it really snazzy. There's a policy fundraising video. Some of you know we have a research center that we're launching, and I'd like to develop a video that involves interviewing a little content from Daniel Schmachtenberger, a little content from myself, maybe content from Jordan Hall or a couple of other people, and then we splice that together, and that becomes a fundraising video for our research policy center. So I'd like to integrate that into your time together and just kind of get that as efficient as possible. And those are the three things I'd like to achieve with this upcoming scheduled shoot. If we get into recording some content for ads, that would be phenomenal. And if we get into recording some content for Life 2020 behind the scenes, that would be really cool too. But these three things feel like the main things of that. To kind of go into this other area, you know, we already have this first choice point episode. I would love for us to create a prototype for a polished version of it. So again, this one is supposed to be user-generated content. So the production quality of the video content will be people with iPhones. But what we do with that in post-production could be the difference of making it cool and edgy and cut well and some motion graphics and something that comes in before and after. So one of the outcomes of this conversation is I'd love to share that video in our members group and then start to get some ideation going around what it would be like to make this video cool in post. And curious, you know, if Ben would lean into that, or if Sparks, maybe you'd lean into that, or Joe, you'd lean into that, but maybe we can just have a dialogue on a thread first and get a sense for like, what aesthetic are we going for and how can we produce a prototype for it? Again, it's a 5-minute video that's user-generated content that we would just, add what we did and post to. So those are kind of the big things, and I just also want to plant the seed of like, we haven't talked about publishing. So we haven't talked about like who publishes videos and like who manages YouTube itself and who, the titling and the description and the tags and the promotion. Like, I'm guessing it's probably not someone on this call, but it might be. But there's a whole domain, around the publishing management and the YouTube channel management beyond the video production itself. So to circle back around to that, Joe, are you down for us to get that shoot on the books maybe late October, early November, something like that? We have all this stuff planned, scripted, dialed, and we rock out a shoot?
Yeah. Let's definitely get it on the calendar. The only thing, we could talk about this later, but I might have something at the end of October where I'm out for a week. But otherwise, I was thinking as you were talking that the first 1, 2, 3 things, if we have all of our planning together, there's no reason why we couldn't knock that out in a weekend.
Yeah.
As far as shooting and to the Life 2020 behind the scenes, starting immediately when we start shooting, we just need to have a second person filming all the behind the scenes, everything. Yeah. And it wouldn't take too much, again, like the shooting doesn't take the same kind of work that the editing takes. So we can shoot all kinds of stuff and do it all at once as long as we have enough people. And that could even be like, Sophia, you and I could get together and we could talk about like shooting with a phone or something. And
we got the Smooth.
You do?
We got
it's the iPhone. It's for the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
It's got like little motor so it can like follow like facial recognition. So, we can set it up and
great
content. So I would say that this whole conversation around the reality TV show content, we'll probably blow out our call time. And Joe, I want to respect the focus 60 minutes. We can spill out a little bit. Do you have a hard stop or just soft?
It's kind of a medium. So I can go over a few minutes. I just can't take another extra 30.
Clear. So what I'd propose is that my actually one main ask coming out of this call is to ask for each of you to actively participate in this Facebook group. That's really the big ask, because if we get that yes, then we can talk about all this stuff and I'll make a whole post around Life 2020, what I'm thinking, what I've been thinking thus far, and then we can just have a whole dialogue and talk about everything from narrative to, production tactics to file storage to post-production. So, if we can just kind of commit to get in as a guild and bring that volunteer energy forward and kind of stay there, then, things will emerge from that has the clarity we need to take action. And maybe I'm speaking to you, Sparks, or you, Ben, like maybe you don't have the time like Joe to volunteer and help and come down to the shoot or bring a bunch of time energy. Maybe you do. I don't know. We haven't kind of gotten there yet. But at least the ask as being a part of this OneNation network is that we can have your voice and your attention in this Facebook group. And that alone is extremely valuable as a first kind of tier of engagement in this video guild.
Totally. That's great. I was also going to say an ask for me would be if we can have like more media tech meetings that are like parallel to the general meetings, and like do you have intent or plans to have like subgroups in a sense?
Well, the Facebook group can hold everybody who's interested in video. And then if we, through various interactions on that group, realize that we need to parse out with any sub-collective to have a focused conversation, it'll just become self-evident.
And how often are you wanting to do productions? Is it going to be ramping up to like once a week or even once a day? Like, or is that maybe too premature of a question?
No, the vision that we have, just to paint this picture, is that moving into January, February, March, we start doing more and more and more production. And I would say by April, it's our full-time gig. We're just making videos all day.
Yeah. So the reason I was asking about subgroups is what I was going to say, which is what I probably should have said first, is what I was visioning is that as soon as we figure out how the structure works and the system, and we have 3 video guys and 2 editors and this and that, and we're making this many, as soon as the magic of that is all completely in flow and understanding and synchronicity, then, you know, the sky is the limit. Like, we could do anything, you know, because as soon as you want to activate an additional project or an additional channel or an additional TV show, it's all just like plug and play. And, you know, the way that the sponsorship works and the way that we find everything, you know, can all just be mapped out. So as far as right now, I also feel like even right now, it's possible to create a simple solution that meets everyone's needs. So that was kind of like the sub conversation I was, I guess, asking about, is if we can sit down, maybe this is something we have to do follow up after this call, like one-on-one, and we can all just share like what our needs are, like how our workflow works, and like how we identify projects and timelines and scheduling. Because once we figure out how to monetize this whole thing, so that whether you're focused on the political aspect, whether you're focused on the video editing, everyone's has their part, and there's an economy of flow that's like, you know, getting everything fueled, so we can put all of ourselves into it, and so that OneNation becomes what we're doing all the time, you know, as opposed to something I'm doing on the side.
Yeah. I think that one of the big cruxes there, Sparks, is to actually start to get overt and explicit with what's available from a volunteer standpoint.
Yeah.
So you kind of get clear, okay, great. Like, Sparks is willing to do this. I'm going to throw out an example of, he's willing to do 3 to 5 hours of post-production as a part of this, as a volunteer, for example. Joe's willing to do this. Ben's willing to do this. Once we get the volunteer currency on the table, then we'll know what we're working with in our current budget reality, you know, and then we can also say, okay, great. And if I could get paid a little bit, then I could do this much. And then it's like, cool, we want that. Let's raise some money. Let's get the budget for that. And then it's like, and I'm possible to be fully dedicated, and I could do this, 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 and this. And it would require this financial investment, right? So through time, through the months to come, we can start to metabolize our realities from starting with a volunteer action that then enables something to come out of nothing, and then use that something to generate more members and more financial resource, start investing in ourselves more, to then start to turn that into a positive feedback loop.
Awesome. Well said.
Thank you. So let's start to actually wind down here, and would just love to kind of go through everyone one last time, just for a minute or so, and get a sense for how are you feeling as a result of this call. Anything particularly activated, any way that you want to offer any specific volunteer work or support based upon your expertise and your capacity, and just anything to say in close. And I would say, Joe, I think we can commit to be done by 10 after. Does that work? Great. So let's go over to you, Ben, and just see kind of any outro thoughts on your side.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel like where I'd most like to plug in initially bring skills as an editor, so we do behind the scenes shooting, given that my experience for documentary less feature. And then moving forward, I think that I really see myself in a directing curation role for one of the projects, curating the content, bringing in the thinkers into the new way forward. I've been in the process of creating a podcast, which may actually, by the time to go, be actually just fully to these projects. Bring all of this together exercise. And so, one of my weaving together into a cohesive. So,
Hey,
bringing
Ben, I've got bad news for you. Your service is so bad that it's very hard to get what you're saying. I got the estimate that you might have a little bit of editing capacity in the current and director capacity in the future, but it was hard to make out much of the rest of what you said.
Yeah, is this better?
This is 100% better. We can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I've got a headset that really just doesn't work, and I want it to work, but it doesn't. Yeah, so all I was saying is that where I would really feel the most alive plugging in is weaving together a lot of the different threads that are part of this bigger movement. So whether that's in curation or maybe working on more of like the branding side, and bringing some of these different aspects of the OmniWin paradigm together in a cohesive narrative framework, whether that's on a show or, one step back producing a few projects. That's where I'd like to go in the long term. And in the short term, in addition to editing, I'm also available for behind the scenes video capture, since my background has primarily been in documentary photography and filmmaking.
Awesome. And you are in the Bay Area, is that correct?
I'm bouncing between the Bay and Los Angeles.
Great. Okay. So you can come and hang out in San Diego pretty easily, yeah?
Yes, I'd love to come to San Diego.
Great. Come. Let's have some fun.
Sweet.
Ben, super good to feel you a bit more and to have you just kind of dive right in this current. I'm so glad that you responded to that Facebook post. So you're here with us today.
And thanks to Cody for being another epic weaver of people and tracking all these things. He's an amazing human.
And thank you to our Discovery Call program that enabled Cody to have that intel to tag, like, just working, guys. I promise you, it's early stage, but stick with this for a little while. This whole thing is working. Joe, let's get any just closing thoughts from you.
Cool. Thanks, Ben, and nice to meet both of you guys. I don't recall us ever meeting before, so it's good to hear from you. Yeah, I mean, Christopher, Sophia, you guys know a lot of what I'm up for. But one of the main things for me is just being being there for like the almost like meta set decorator. You know what I mean? Just like making sure all the paint's dry and all the pinstriping is on and everything's shiny and new, so that when you pick up your car, you're happy with it. You don't want to return it. Does that make sense? I hope that metaphor didn't go too far out the window.
That was my job request.
I didn't get all of it, Joe, but it made me feel good.
Good. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. We've done it. Always happy to be here. One of the things, my last thing is deadlines and scheduling are excellent for me and my workflow. Yes. So whenever there's no deadline and it's just open-ended, it's like my system just can't, there's nothing to grasp onto. But as soon as you say to me, I would really love to have this video done by tomorrow, even though, or whatever that day is, regardless of how much like pressure that puts on me, it's like pressure is important to my workflow. So I love that we're scheduling stuff. I love that we've got like stuff down the pipeline, that I can throw a dart at and hit.
Mm-hmm.
Love that it really helps me get the work done. So I love that we're doing that.
Awesome, brother. Awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, let's bring you in. What's your reaction to being a part of this call and listening in?
Hold on, there's a helicopter coming over. Okay.
Mostly listening. I'm impressed with the depth of the complexity of the content you plan on putting out.
Yeah, super complexity, especially looking through the map. I was like,
hyper-targeted.
This is a very great place to start from, a very strong foundation and, really very bulletproof plan. So I don't see how it could not work. Do you need anyone to hold the vice president position?
I was waiting to hear about Sparks as vice president.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be in the tech lab. I feel
all spliffs for everybody.
We have a French spliff roller too, so you guys.
Everyone's gonna be into it.
That's great. It just got me thinking about rolling one right now. Matter of fact.
I just want to, continue to bring technology and help with post-production. And then also, like, I don't know if I can say I'm good at pre-production strategy, but I feel like if in the sense the pre-production team can consult the tech post-production team to figure out like what they need to figure out. Like, because I could tell you, oh, we can take this video and host it in a container and it could play in this way, and you could buy the back, once you know what's possible as far as the container of where the video is being hosted and how much can you interact with that video and how quickly can you switch to another video and how quickly can you make a decision while you're watching the video and purchase something. So the more I can help explain what that looks like, then I think the more that can bring clarity to the entire process as far as like that. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. You guys are freaking amazing. And Joe, thank you so much for holding your space of like, I totally know the space that you're holding. And I think it's very important to be the guy who can show up in the middle of a very high pressure production and just be able to like get everyone on the same page and calm everyone down. And so I really am excited to see you shine as things are ramping up more. And like, I'm so excited to see how you handle those moments and to learn how to do that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Looking forward to it too. I'm looking forward to working with both of you guys, and I'm excited to learn from you because I feel like you, Paul and Ben, both have things that I know I'm gonna learn from you. Just you have different skill sets. We all have a little bit different thing going on here. So
yeah, I can feel the synergy in all these parts, and want to thank the container that brought us all together so that we can expand into this as one cohesive team. This is really beautiful. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I have to jump off now, you guys, but it's been such a pleasure. I look forward to continuing to collaborate, building the systems to move this forward in a good way. And really grateful.
Catch you soon, Ben.
Catch you soon. Much love.
Joining us.
Sophia, just bring us home.
Yeah, what fun it is to get to bring our unique pieces to the table and share in the brilliance and the genius and the creativity that's possible when we all get to work together. And this just feels like a moment in time. This is the beginning of something, and we were all here. And just what a beautiful thing to get to experience the nexus point, like the point of coming together where from here anything's possible and we shall see. And thank you for being here. So wonderful to get to play and create with all of you. And Joe, I love you so much. It's always I got a call with you and to feel how in you are, like you are in. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Well, a big thank you to everyone who's a part of this call, who's been a part of this call, and also anybody who's watched this call after the fact. Sending love to you, and just feeling honored and grateful to have your attention and your energy and your love as we come together to do something very special, which I'm doing because I believe it can create catalytic transformation for humanity at a planetary scale to create explicit and direct societal transformation for generations to come. So that's why I'm showing up, and that's what I promise to collaborators that come in, is that if you lean in a little bit, we can do something that I actually believe can change the world.
Hallelujah.
Thanks for holding that, because that means I don't have to. And I can just show up and do what I'm good at. And you're here to hold that piece, because that's that's your magic, you know, and I just appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. It feels nice to have someone else hold that vision so that I can just drop in and help you with it and support that vision and not be the one making the vision, you know, but also just being a part of it. So I appreciate that.
We all get to do and be our part.
That's right. Love that. Love that about OneNation.
Yeah, in some way we all vulnerably depend on each other through this digital screen. Somehow we're filling each other's holes, and like, it's pretty awesome. Sorry, that came out really weird.
No, you're just
Seems fine to me.
creative juices. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and naming vulnerability is right. There's a vulnerability to like, am I going to be cynical? You know, is this really going to be something? You know, is just another big idea that's going to go nowhere? There's like a vulnerability to saying, I'm going to set my cynicism to the side and I'm going to actually lean in and I'm going to try and create something really beautiful and magical. And I need other people to be able to do it. And if everybody shows up, if everybody says does what they say they're going to do, if everyone really has the capacities, if we don't give up, if we stay consistent, if we get up even when we get knocked down, then in fact that vulnerability can lead to true synergy, which can lead to true co-creation, which can lead to true value, which can lead to true transformation, which can lead to creating the world that we want for our children, our children's children, and our children's children's children. Amen. Aho, Ashe, all my relations, all in for all life. Hallelujah.
You said it.
All right, we're out. See you guys soon. Bye.
Bye. Love you. Thanks, guys.